Hey, it's Jesse here again. Just talked about food. I'm going to talk a little bit about supplements. Um, Before you go buy a bunch of supplements, this is the no BS program. This is just the straight dope. I got no dog in any fight. I don't care if you want to do supplements, do them. But I can tell you what I found for myself. Is that I think most supplements, regardless of what the claims are, basically worthless. Most of them. Not all of them. There are a few supplements that have stood the test of time, that are still useful, will always be useful, and those are creatine and aminos and caffeine. Now, you got to know how to use what you want to use. You got to know when to use and what to do with those things, right? But just think about it. If all these supplements that people were putting out on the shelf were really that great, where's the staying power? Right? Why aren't people still doing it? So you can look at anything that you've ever used. If it's a good product, consumers will go back to it. So, you know what? If I'm in a parking lot, and if Mazda builds a crappy car, they're not going to sell them. If Ford builds a crappy truck, they're not going to sell many of them. I mean, sure, there's going to be, Lamborghinis, that might be a great car, but, no one can afford it. Doesn't mean it's not a great car, so it's not being used because you can't afford it. So there is a little bit of usefulness to certain supplements, but, how much is it going to help you? How much is it going to cost you? What's the cost benefit analysis for what you want? What kind of an edge do you really need? I've found, if you're talking actual noticeable, real change, I think creatine is on the top of the list along with amino acids. And there are different types of aminos, and I'm not getting into it. Not brands, actual different types of aminos, from the acids to the branch chains to the nons to all that. I think there's a noticeable difference in aminos. I think it does help. But with that said, get back to the nutrition data calculator and start looking at all the nutrition in different types of foods, and you'll realize that there is no supplement that can provide you what food cannot. Basically. There is one supplement that always works, that is extremely powerful, that is fairly affordable as far as I could tell, but it's illegal, and that's steroids. Steroids are absolutely, I would like to do steroids just to see what would happen. But again, for what? I don't know. What competition am I doing? What edge do I need to gain, and over who? Food has everything you need. Supplements, a lot of people stand to make billions of dollars telling you that if you don't have this supplement or that supplement, you're never going to meet your goals. You're never going to be what you want. And I see people in the protein aisle all the time whose problem is not nutrition, or a lack of nutrition, I should say that. Their problem is, they probably don't do enough cardio. If they wanted to look like the guy in the bottle, what they would do is go get their butt in a, boxing ring or a swimming pool or on a bicycle or treadmill or do something like that. Get a little bit off track. Supplements, basically, stick with food, you're better off. Just understand how much protein you should eat, the kind of carbohydrates that you want based on your activity, and the tiny little advantage that you're going to get taking $50, $100 worth of supplements a day, probably not worth it. Thanks.